Hi, my name is Sullivan. Today we're going to talk a bit about InstaScope, its functions and features, and we're even going to take it into a home to see it in action. Let's get started. Now that you have your InstaScope, we're going to walk through how to get it out of the crate. We recommend for doing this that you have a crowbar and a good pair of gloves. Once you have removed the lid of the crate, it'll allow you to easily access the accessories inside the crate. We will want to remove those before we remove the instrument. That includes an accessory bag and a box that contains your wand. You'll want to remove the 4 clips on the front of the crate. Once the 4 clips are removed from the front, set it aside. And now we can remove the InstaScope. Tilt the InstaScope towards you and then lift it out of the crate. With the InstaScope on the ground, lay it back. Which will give you access to the front wheel assembly. Pull this pin, which will free the wheel and allow you to open it. It will then snap into place, and to ensure that it's securely in place, wiggle the wheel assembly a few times. Now that your InstaScope is out of the box, let's take a look at some of the physical features.
The InstaScope weighs approximately 63 pounds and measures 30 inches high by 17 inches wide and 15 inches deep. The battery lasts up to 7 hours of sampling time and about 15 hours on standby. InstaScope operating temperatures are 0 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit with a relative humidity of 5% to 95% non-condensing.
On the front of the InstaScope, you'll see 2 holes that are responsible for drawing in air and producing a relative humidity and temperature readout. Now let's turn our attention to the back panel, where I want to walk through a few of the features here. We have a standard 120 volt outlet where you will charge your unit with the extension cord that comes standard. We have an hour meter that acts as a timer or a counter to keep track of the hours of use that the instrument has gone through. And then you have a battery compartment here. Now the instrument will be shipped with the battery separately. So that will require installation when you first receive it. Installation is simple. You'll remove the back panel using these thumb screws. I would hold the door to the chamber with your hand that's not unscrewing, just so the door doesn't fall down. Now the battery here has a connector and has a circuit board. And the reason I bring attention to those is we're going to be connecting it and we're going to be protecting the circuit board from getting too much pressure from the strap that secures it. The way we're going to do that is by having the circuit board facing up and in towards the instrument. And then we're going to secure the strap around the battery. And then fasten the connector until you hear a clip. After you've connected your battery, you're going to want to close the chamber back up the same way you opened it. Line up the thumb screws with each hole and just fasten them around the chamber door. When you are returning the instrument back for shipping, you're going to go through the same process in reverse order. We're going to take the chamber door off, you're going to remove the battery and disconnect it, and then safely put that aside for when your instrument comes back for calibration. Once your InstaScope is out of the crate and your battery is installed, you'll want to make sure that you plug the instrument in to charge before your first use. To do that, use the provided extension cord and plug it into the AC inlet port on the back of the unit. You will know that the extension cord is receiving power because it will have an orange light that turns on. With your InstaScope, you'll receive an accessory bag that will allow you to store your tools conveniently. There are 2 anchor points on the back of the InstaScope to hook the bag to. The bag will hang open to allow you to easily access your tools. The tools we will be sending you are an extension cord that allow you to charge the unit or operate the unit if the battery is running low, and 2 filters, one of them that's used to purge the wand and one of them that hooks into the top filter. We'll discuss these in depth elsewhere in the video. So another aspect of the rear panel is the adjustable handle. There are 3 positions. There's the lowest position it's in now, which is for storing it. Pulling out these pins allows you to free it up for adjustment. And there are 2 additional positions that lock in with pins. This position allows you to steer the instrument comfortably when operating it. In the final position allows for easy movement up and down stairs. Think of it as a dolly. Along the side of the instrument, you'll see runners, which provide you with a flat surface for storing the instrument so that you can lay it on its back. And it also gives you a durable flat surface for loading the instrument in and out of trucks. We've laid the instrument on its back, on its runners, so that we can bring attention to the front wheel assembly. When you send your instrument in for service, you will want to make sure to secure the front wheel, which involves locking it and folding it. To lock it, we will use this mechanism right here. However, when we ship it, we will want to make sure that we lock the wheel in a side position. And then we want to engage this pin, which will allow us to fold the wheel. Once the wheel has fully folded, it will lock into place the pin. To confirm that the pin is locked into place, lift the wheel a few times to ensure that it is secure. Here we have the InstaScope top panel. You'll see there are several accessory ports. The one that you will primarily be using during normal operation is the one with the lightning symbol, and that is if your iPad battery is running low and you need to charge it. Here we have the power switch, which turns the InstaScope on and off. And here we have several LED indicator lights. The 2 that you will primarily be focusing on while using the InstaScope are the battery light and the computer status. On the middle of the top panel, we have an adjustable iPad slider, which allows you to securely fasten your iPad to the top panel so that it does not slide when you're using the InstaScope. And on this side of the top panel, we have the wand port, which allows you to fasten your sampling wand. To release the wand, simply press the quick release button with your thumb and then pull on the wand, and it should easily release.
Before you begin, make sure you are downloading the InstaScope controller app from the App Store on your iPad, not an iPhone. Navigate to the App Store on the iPad, go to the top of the search bar, and type in InstaScope Controller 2.0. Once pulled up, look for the Install App icon and tap it to begin downloading. The app should start installing. When it is downloaded, you are ready to open the app.
So now we're going to cover how to connect your iPad to your InstaScope and also go over how to configure the iPad so that you're ready to start using it for scans. To turn the InstaScope on, use the top panel power button As it turns on, you will hear fans engage, and you will see the computer status light blink orange. When the status light has turned to a solid green, the instrument is ready to connect to the iPad. On the iPad, navigate to the Settings, then to the Wi-Fi section, and select your InstaScope's network. Then enter the password that was provided to you by Detection Tech, and then hit Join. Once successfully connected to the InstaScope, you will see a blue check mark next to its Wi-Fi network. This password will now be saved, so next time you use the iPad with the InstaScope, you will not need to enter the password.
Before you begin, note that the app tabs are designed to be used in sequence from left to right as you move through the inspection process. A session refers to all the scans that will be performed in one inspection. One report will generate the full session with all rooms. The Session tab is also where you will set up your inspection with the technician info, customer info, room layouts, and notes. The Baseline tab is where the purge and baseline is run prior to starting a session. The Scan tab is where you will see all of your rooms laid out and ready to start scans. The Report tab is where the reports are generated immediately after scans. And finally, on the bottom right corner is the Status tab showing pending sessions that are saved to the iPad until they are uploaded to the cloud.
Navigate to the InstaScope app, go to Technician Info on the Session tab, and under Prepared By, fill out all company information fields. Once filled in, select Done, then move on to the section Inspected By and select Add New Inspector. Fill in all inspector fields. Once you've filled in all of the inspector fields, select Done, and this information is now saved to the iPad so that you do not need to enter it for every subsequent session, but you are able to change it at any time you'd like. Now that we have the iPad configured, let's cover how we set it up for a job. On the iPad, navigate to the Settings, select the Wi-Fi network for your InstaScope, and wait for the blue check mark to show next to the network to confirm it is connected. Once connected, open your InstaScope app, and if the connection is successful, you will see a Start New and Resume pop-up. Select Start New, then fill in all relevant customer information in the Customer Info section. Once you have filled in all relevant customer information, navigate to the Technician Info tab, then select the inspector. You will see Selected Inspector appear to confirm the selection. I will cover how to create a room layout from the Room Layout section of the Sessions tab. This comes in handy when you know what a structure's layout will look like before you enter the space. On the Sessions tab, select Room Layout. You will see a few rooms already populated. You can either keep these or select Reset Rooms on the top right to clear the room quantities. To add a room from the existing names, select one of them, then choose the appropriate quantity of rooms. Touch anywhere outside of the pop-up to close the window. To create a new room name, select Custom Room Name under Additional Rooms, enter the desired room name, then touch anywhere outside of the pop-up to close it. Assign the desired number of rooms for this room by selecting the number next to the name. Select the appropriate number of rooms, then touch anywhere outside of this pop-up to close it. Repeat this process for any additional rooms that you'd like to create. Baseline scans are done outside and are part of the inspection process at the beginning to use as a comparison against the other rooms. Before doing the baseline scan, conduct a purge. You can purge the instrument inside or outside of the structure. To conduct a purge, start by removing the wand head, then place the provided HEPA filter onto the wand. With the purge filter properly installed, all the air will be flowing through the HEPA filter. Make certain the purge filter is securely connected to the wand to avoid air leaking in behind the filter. We will continue moving from left to right on the bottom tabs to the baseline tab. Make sure your instrument is set up for a purge, then select Start Purge. The purge will run until it finds 15 consecutive seconds where it detects no particles, and you will receive a confirmation message that the purge was successful and is complete, and the pop-up will close. Once the purge is complete, remove the HEPA filter from the end of the wand and place the wand head back on the end, then screw it down tightly. Then you can proceed to your baseline scan. When InstaScope is ready to run, then select Start. You will see a timer show up in the bottom right that will begin to count down from 5 minutes to 0. You will hear the InstaScope pumps engage to let you know that the InstaScope is scanning. Once the baseline scan is complete, we are ready to navigate to the next tab, the Scan tab, and bring the InstaScope inside the structure.
Please note that you will need to measure the volume of every room so InstaScope can determine the scan time. When taking the volume of a room, you'll want to measure the height, width, and length. There are several ways to do this. You can eyeball and use your best guess, or use a tape measure. Perhaps most accurate and quickest is a laser measure. In larger open floor plans, it is best to take multiple scans and break the room up into quadrants or thirds. This way, you can label the sections easier and get a more accurate assessment when source tracking for contaminants. Other examples of types of spaces that may take more than one scan are large open residential spaces, open offices, and commercial lobbies.
From the Scan tab, you will see several pre-populated rooms. Select one of those rooms. Change the room name if necessary by touching the name field, and then add the relevant room name. After entering the room name, touch the room volume field and enter the room volume. Then select any notes from the note selection based on any observations you've made. You can also take additional pictures to capture those observations by selecting the camera, then taking a photo. All of these notes and photos will become a part of your report immediately, so you can access them at a later time. After filling out all relevant scan information, select Scan from the top right to start your room scan. You will hear the InstaScope pumps engage and see a countdown timer start, and you will see data start to populate the graphs. Once your scan is complete, the data is automatically saved and incorporated into the report. Conduct subsequent scans in the same manner until you have sampled the desired number of rooms or areas in the structure. One of the most powerful features of InstaScope is its ability to provide you with same-day information. In fact, it gives you the ability to check out reports throughout the course of the job that you're conducting. Let me show you how to access those reports. When you first open the report, you'll see who conducted the inspection and who the inspection is for. As you scroll down, you'll see an introduction to the report. On page 2 is a high-level view of the rooms and the categories they fell into based on their room color. On page 3 is a graphical representation showing these rooms compared to their baseline sample. The baseline sample shows up in blue, and the other rooms will be their appropriate room colors. As you continue scrolling through the report, you will find more detailed information about each room. The sections show the room's volume, mold concentration, temperature, and relative humidity. Additionally, this is where any observations you made or notes you took will display. The next section of the report covers the coarse and fine airborne particle details. The first section and graph shows the fine particles as well as the portion of those that were classified as biological. The same information is then shown for the coarse particles and those that were classified as biological. In the last section of the report, you will see any pictures that you took throughout the course of your inspection. These are helpful in showing the customer where the problem areas likely are. These reports are ready for the customer to see on site after your inspection via email, but you can also incorporate them into larger, more customized reports later if you'd like. Green areas are indicative of normal air quality levels in the home or building. Yellow areas have the potential for mold problems and show at-risk areas with above normal airborne contaminants. These areas may require further investigation. An area will turn red when it has a high airborne mold level or materially different mold makeup that requires action. With your InstaScope purchase, you will receive a handout that can help you and your customer understand what to do with this information. Refer to the How to Read the InstaScope Assessment handout for more information. These recommendations are not created by Detection Tech. They are based on CDC guidelines and industry best practices. Having instant reports gives you the ability to provide your customers with information on the same day about solutions or next steps they need to take. To upload your report, navigate to the iPad settings and connect to a Wi-Fi network with internet. If this cannot be done at the inspection site, then you can do this later. The information will be saved to the iPad and the process for uploading will be identical. After connecting to an internet source, navigate back to the InstaScope app and bring your attention to the bottom right, where you will see a red bubble with a number representing pending uploads. This number should begin to count down on its own until no numbers show. Once no numbers show, all data has been successfully uploaded. After you have successfully uploaded all session data, you will be able to share it via email. To do this, navigate to the Report tab and select the Share icon at the top right, then select Email. Fill in the email address with whom you wish to share the report, then send it by selecting the upward-facing arrow. Okay, so we're here to talk about transporting the InstaScope. Now the InstaScope is about 31 inches high, about 16 inches deep, and 19 inches wide, and that is when the wheel is folded, which we will fold for transporting the InstaScope. Now the first thing you're going to want to do when you're transporting the InstaScope is putting its protective cover on it. This drapes over the front and secures with Velcro in the back. And you want to lock your front wheel. To fold the front wheel, lay the instrument carefully on its back, engage the pin that collapses the front wheel, and then make sure it is secure by pulling on it a few times. Folding the front wheel allows you to lift the unit from the front, grab it with both sides, and carefully lifting with your legs, rest it on the edge of the truck and pivot it on its back. To remove the InstaScope from a truck, ensure that the cover is secured to the frame. Then using the front wheel as a handle, slowly slide the InstaScope to the edge of the truck. Hold the weight of the InstaScope as you slowly lower it to the ground. Tip the instrument onto its back, free the wheel, and then lift the InstaScope back up. Another option for transporting the InstaScope is in the back seat of a truck or a pickup. You're going to load it the same way you load it into a truck bed, which is to lock the front wheel, gently lay the InstaScope on its back, engage the wheel pin to allow it to fold, and then lifting with both side handles, bring it into the truck. Once you have the InstaScope in the back seat, I like to secure it with the front seat. So if you don't have a truck or a van to load the InstaScope in, because of its compact profile, it fits into most small cars as well. You're going to want to go through the same motions, lay it on its back, lock its front wheel, collapse its front wheel, grab the InstaScope by its two side handles, load it into the trunk, then lay it on its back, and you're good to go. Part of InstaScope ownership means sending your unit back in for service twice per year. Now, the reason we do this is a proactive measure to ensure that the calibration or the alignment on the InstaScope hasn't shifted. Now we're going to show you how to pack your InstaScope up to get it ready for shipping back to Detection Tech. When you're ready to ship your InstaScope back to Detection Tech for routine calibration and service, we require that you remove the battery from the back panel, and you should cover the instrument in its cover. Now I'm going to show you how to load the instrument into its crate. You'll want to lay it on its back and collapse its front wheel. Make sure the pin and wheel assembly is secure. You're going to want to put the InstaScope in the crate with the back of the InstaScope towards the back of the crate. We also ask that you return the wand when sending back your instrument for calibration, which sits behind the InstaScope in a gap between the two foam inserts. Now that your InstaScope is in the crate, we're going to walk through how to secure the crate. The first thing I will do is secure the front of the crate with the 4 clips that I have here. You'll want to ensure that the 2 foam inserts on the crate are going in the same direction as the InstaScope. and then secure one clip to each side of the crate. Once the crate is secure, you'll want to make sure that you have the proper paperwork on the crate. We'll send you the bill of lading, and you will want to print 3 copies of it. 1 will go in the sleeve, and 2 will sit on the top of the InstaScope. And that's it. You're ready to send it back in. Here we are at a residential home, and we're going to show InstaScope in action. We're going to show its capabilities of doing whole area scans to get a comprehensive air quality assessment. In a big room like this, using a single point capture method gives you a limited view of what is in the air. With InstaScope, you can actually cover the whole area in detail and even identify hotspots or sources of exposure. The wand allows you to sample small spaces and gives you the versatility to sample areas of interest in rooms of all sizes. Even in rooms that are too small to maneuver the InstaScope, you can keep it in one spot and still get a whole area scan by using the wand to move around the space. So this area was giving me a bit of a high reading. In order to identify where that source is coming from, I'm going to do a source scan below this kitchen sink. even when scanning in smaller areas, I want to make sure to move the wand slowly, and I want to be careful not to touch any surfaces with the wand. Here I am at a hood over a range, and I can see there's some dust buildup above the range, and I want to sample in this area, but I don't want to get any of that dust or debris into the InstaScope. So I'm going to sample near it and make sure not to touch the wand tip to that actual surface to get any of that contamination in the instrument. But by sampling near it, I will be able to understand if there's any airborne biology that's worth sampling in this area. So one thing to keep in mind when conducting an inspection is that kitchen appliances, particularly gas kitchen appliances, were not turned on recently. Ideally, there would be no cooking that had been done at that home the day that you do the inspection, just to eliminate any of the VOCs that it might contribute to the environment from interfering with the sampling of the InstaScope.
Common VOCs found in households can be created by cleaning products, gas ranges, paint and finishes, and aerosolized products like hairsprays. InstaScope does not measure or classify VOCs, but because it still detects them, they can influence the results of your scan. Therefore, it is best to avoid scanning environments with high VOC activity if possible. If this is not possible, then just be mindful that this could potentially influence your report.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you a couple ways to move the InstaScope up a staircase safely. Depending on either method you use, the first thing you're going to want to do is secure your accessories. And I like to put them all in the accessory bag and then move that aside. All right, for this method, I will collapse the handle and then grab the two side metal handles . Okay, the second method of bringing the InstaScope upstairs is going to be the dolly method. We'll bring the handle up to the highest position, disengage the footlock, bring the instrument so the rear is to the stairs, and then one step at a time, pull the instrument up the staircase. Then, like always, engage the brake. If you're in a room with a lot of soft materials and you want to get a sense of what occupying that room will do to the resuspension of particles in the air, one way you can sample that is by gently agitating surfaces and then bringing the wand near the surface you agitated, always keeping in mind not to directly make contact with the surface with the wand. A reminder, we don't want to use this as a vacuum cleaner. We just want to sample what's in the air around what is of interest to us. It's also worth noting here that the reason we want rooms to be unoccupied during our scanning is because the resuspension of materials is likely when that room is occupied. So having a quiescent sample as well as an agitated sample or a resuspended sample will give you a better understanding of what that room is like in different stages. So here is an area that is of interest to me. There's a chance that behind some of this exposed insulation there could be a source of contamination worth sampling, but I also see that there's pretty heavy debris and dust buildup here. So a reoccurring theme you'll hear me say is don't use the InstaScope as a vacuum cleaner. So once again, I want to sample near this area, but I don't want to touch the wand to this area. So just gently moving this near that area of exposed insulation is enough to find out if there's anything coming from behind that space.
InstaScope is designed to test for airborne microbiology and is very sensitive to airborne particles it is sampling. Keep this in mind when sampling in areas with high particle loading. For instance, if there are fans going in an attic, there may be high levels of particulate matter in the air, so please sample with caution. InstaScope may not fit in certain crawl spaces in attics due to its size and limitations going into smaller, harder to reach areas. While InstaScope can be used near exposed material in houses for source tracking, we do not recommend taking InstaScope into construction zones with high levels of debris in the air. The InstaScope is a commercial instrument that is designed to be rugged and durable. However, underneath the cover is very sophisticated and sensitive optical equipment that needs to be considered when putting the InstaScope into particularly contaminated environments. These pictures demonstrate improper use of the InstaScope. Notice that in each picture, the wand tip is being placed directly onto a surface. When source sampling, it is advised that the user does not place the wand in direct contact with any surface or material. The InstaScope is designed to sample airborne particles, which are generally small and move through the air easier. So, even when investigating the source of exposure, the air directly around the potential source should be examined and not the source material itself. When the wand of the InstaScope is pressed up against a surface or put under a floorboard, it is coming into contact with large particles that would never make it to the air. These particles are larger and in more numbers than the InstaScope is designed to handle. Ideally, if a user needs to examine a wall cavity or under a floor panel, they will suspend the InstaScope wand to float near the source they wish to examine. This way, any particles that enter the InstaScope are particles that can become airborne and are therefore appropriate for the InstaScope to sample. When using InstaScope in HVAC systems, best practices are to check ductwork for bioaerosols. InstaScope is a great tool to assess if coils and/or ductwork have high bioaerosol loadings. It can also be used to determine if there is a need to clean ducts and coils to reduce the amount of bioaerosols. To use InstaScope with HVAC systems, you can put the wand near the coils, return, and supply. InstaScope is a valuable tool for pre- and post-remediation verification. Use InstaScope at the beginning of a job to take a sample before remediation work has been done, and go back in with InstaScope afterwards to again verify that you have successfully reduced bioaerosols present in the air. Users are successfully billing this to insurance, especially when requested by the policyholder under the exactment line item. Remediation work normally increases the airborne particulates substantially, either from dust kicked up by demolition and construction or by chemicals used in cleaning. We recommend waiting 24 hours for particles to settle before doing another scan in remediation zones. You can assess earlier, but you will need to be aware that the readings you get could be elevated. Spore traps are the most commonly used method for inspections right now, but traditional methods capture only a very small area in a room and rely on the inspector to know where to place them. There is risk that spores captured can even get damaged or become indistinguishable. They rely on labs for the results, which can give subjective information and sometimes even give different results depending on the lab. This also often comes with waiting periods for answers and can turn costly with the more samples that need to be taken. Unlike spore traps, a pump draws air through InstaScope into an optical chamber where multiple light sources are used to characterize the particles. A laser is used to detect particles and measure their size. Then, ultraviolet light sources are used to measure biofluorescence. 2 different wavelengths are used to illuminate the particle, and detectors look for fluorescence at different wavelengths. The size and biofluorescent responses are used as a fingerprint for classifying particle type, examples being inert, mold, and other biological particles. When talking to customers about InstaScope, you can explain the advantages of whole area assessment. This makes source tracking possible to discover areas of concern and captures a more in-depth picture of the air quality and what they are breathing. The technology takes away the subjectivity and instead puts the lab in the hands of the inspectors. So what if you are inspecting and see mold but InstaScope is not detecting it or categorizing the room as red? Sometimes, when our users encounter this, it is because a structure may be actively growing mold, and it may be spreading without the spores becoming airborne. Inactive mold is dry and can become active in the right environmental conditions. At this point, InstaScope can detect those spores that have dried and aerosolized. If you do want to know the species, consider this. How are you speciating? Is it through culturing, ERMI, or surface sampling? All 3 of these single-point methods are also limited to a single spot location. Other areas of interest will be excluded with these methods, adding variability to the info you get on species.
InstaScope is a precision instrument that requires careful handling and care. To clean your InstaScope, wipe down the exterior between every job and only use ethyl or isopropyl alcohol with a microfiber cloth to clean the outside of the instrument. Also, be sure to keep the wheels clean to avoid tracking dirt into your customer's home and keep the wand tip free of contaminants at all times. Do not use any cleaning products like glass cleaner, biocide, or other consumer or commercial surface cleaners. Do not wipe down the exterior of the wand. Instead, clean the interior of the wand with canned compressed air, such as dust off. Do not forget to purge before every baseline scan of every session, and please do not use the instrument as a surface for writing or placing items and drinks. When using and transporting InstaScope, remember to secure it to avoid any damage to the instrument. Store your wand carefully and avoid stepping on or rolling over the cord. Be sure to protect the instrument from the elements such as rain, moisture, and condensation. Don't forget to keep the instrument stationary during initial diagnostics, purges, and baseline scans. We say it time and time again, but do not use the wand as a vacuum against exposed materials. Do not let the instrument or iPad overheat, and avoid leaving it in places that exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Do not operate the InstaScope in condensing environments. If you have to move from different environments quickly, then let the InstaScope acclimate for at least 5 minutes before powering on. And finally, do not roll the wheel over the cord or transport InstaScope with the wand attached. So that concludes our training. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you need any additional information on InstaScope, hit that subscribe button below, give us a call, or check out our website. We'd be more than happy to help you.